Ganondorf's ultimate ambition in Tears of the Kingdom is to rule over Hyrule as what he asserts as a true king in the original Japanese version. His means to fulfill his desires involves manipulating a Zonai secret stone, an ancient artifact detailed in the Japanese narrative to specifically magnify an individual's abilities twofold. Yet in the hands of Ganondorf, they inexplicably confer upon him an extraordinary surge of power, far surpassing that bestowed upon any other bearer. This increase is so formidable, in fact, that he transcends into the Demon King. But why and how exactly does this happen? Moreover, if Ganondorf was so determined to be a true king, why did he willingly surrender his mind and body to embrace the form of a dragon? Delving into the core motives behind Ganondorf's monumental decision in the Japanese text not only unravels the enigmatic depths of his desires, but also unveils how the emergence of both the Light and Demon Dragon reveals substantial lore implications that ripple through the very essence of the world in Tears of the Kingdom. So with that said, let's switch to the original Japanese version of the game to uncover what Ganondorf's motives truly are, untangle the enigma shrouding the secret stones, and unlock the profound answer to why they specifically bestow Ganondorf the transformative mantle of the Demon King and such unparalleled power. Ganondorf's earliest chronological appearance in Tears of the Kingdom is within the memory titled The Gerudo Assault, in which he boldly declares in Japanese that the Hyrule Kingdom will be his. Moments after, he commands a Molduga stampede towards the Great Plateau, as he aims to overpower Rauru, the current reigning king. The Zonai King successfully repels Ganondorf's attack with bolstered defense thanks to the secret stones. However, it's this very display that inadvertently exposes their capabilities to Ganondorf and causes him to reassess his strategy to something more cunning. Hence, he realizes that merely confronting his foes head-on won't suffice, and devises a new scheme and infiltrates the castle to engage Rauru, concealing his true motives behind a facade of loyalty. However, the King of Hyrule was not his target here. Ganondorf plans to eliminate the King's Queen, claim her secret stone as his own, and harness its power for himself. And thus, under the cover of night, Sonia encounters what seems to be Zelda on the castle balcony. This false Zelda attacks Sonia as the real one appears, who uses her recall power on the weapon, exposing the imposter's true identity. They show no sign of concern, however, and instead laugh mockingly before vanishing. As they fade away, Sonia is ambushed by Ganondorf from behind, who seizes her secret stone as she falls. Its once pure hue morphs into a dark, ominous shade as the Japanese character for darkness appears, catalyzing Ganondorf's transformation into the Demon King. The blood-red moon casts a crimson glow upon the skies, as gloom emanates from Ganondorf's body, birthing a legion of demons across the world. Witnessing the chaos, Rauru rushes to the side of his fallen queen and confronts the Demon King. In the English version, Ganondorf accuses Rauru of taking the godlike power he possessed for granted and wasting its potential. Yet, in my opinion, the awakened Demon King's words in Japanese place greater emphasis on the profound resentment he harbors towards Rauru and how he despises that the Zonai looked down on him. Ganondorf exaggerates that his hostility stems from Rauru's condescending and arrogant attitude, along with his monopolization of the divine power contained within the secret stones. In other words, Ganondorf detests Rauru's claim of this extraordinary power as his own, as if it inherently belongs to him, an act Ganondorf considers unjust and contemptuous. Consequently, the Demon King directly challenges Rauru's authority by manipulating his newly acquired power to unleash a demonic force of gloom. Recognizing Ganondorf's overwhelming might, Rauru retreats alongside Zelda, leaving the Demon King to impose his dominance over the kingdom. The potency of the secret stones is explained by Minoru in a preceding memory, where she emphasizes how they can amplify the abilities of those who possess them. Her Japanese explanation specifically implies that these stones have the capacity to double the power of their wielder, and that harnessing this rests solely with the individual. However, this poses a perplexing question. Why did the acquisition of a single secret stone instantly grant Ganondorf such overwhelming power and cause him to transform into the Demon King? Firstly, let's clarify the naming of the secret stones in Japanese. In the original text, they are referred to as hiseki, a term that operates as a portmanteau, blending the words secret and stones seamlessly into a single fantastical word. The first character embodies the essence of mystery, secrecy, spirituality, and wonder. The distinction between the two names given to the stones in Japanese and English lies in the implications. Hiseki, in my interpretation, carries a deeper sense of being the treasured secrets of the Zonai, something that unlocks the mysteries of one's essence, granting mastery over the universe's secrets and harboring potent, enigmatic magic. In their final attempt to triumph over the Demon King, Rauru entrusts each of the ancient sages with a secret stone. Yet, despite only possessing a single one himself, Ganondorf manages to overpower 7 holders of these stones simultaneously in battle. How exactly was he able to achieve this, and what accounts for the differing impact these stones had on their wielders, especially concerning Rauru and Zelda? An answer to this enigma begins to manifest in the Demon King's original home region, in the Gerudo Desert. When the current leader of the Gerudo in the present day, Riju, lays her hand upon her secret stone for the first time, a meeting unfolds between her, Link, and the ancient Gerudo sage. This sage recounts the tale of the imprisoning war, detailing Ganondorf's role as their chief before a profound change befell him. His insatiable thirst for power, an obsession that eclipsed all else, twisted him into a monstrous entity. Except for explicitly characterizing Ganondorf's transformation as becoming a demon monster, on the surface, the Japanese version seems to reveal similar information. Yet, a closer examination of the Japanese dialogue reveals a crucial word that encapsulates deeper insights into Ganondorf, due to it possessing nuances that are easily lost in translation. In Japanese, the term the Gerudo sage uses to describe Ganondorf's obsession is moshu, a word far more intricate than merely signifying obsession. In Buddhism, the Japanese term moshu holds profound significance, encapsulating the concept of deluded attachment or erroneous clinging. It represents the fundamental root of suffering and ignorance in Buddhist philosophy, and the deeply ingrained tendency of the human mind to grasp onto perceptions, beliefs, and concepts as absolute truths. It encompasses the attachment to the illusion of a permanent and inherently existing self, object, relationship, or situation. This clinging fosters a sense of solidity and permanence in things that are naturally impermanent, leading to dissatisfaction, suffering, and an inability to see reality as it truly is. In other words, moshu impedes one's ability to comprehend impermanence and interdependence, fostering unrealistic expectations that prevent them from reaching nirvana and enlightenment. Consequently, it perpetuates an endless cycle of rebirth and suffering known as samsara, which, in the Legend of Zelda series, is specified by Demise exclusively in the Japanese text at the end of Skyward Sword. Essentially, this means that one will continue to suffer in their subsequent lives, as long as they have moshu. Calamity Ganon in Breath of the Wild represents an embodiment of hatred that persists within this cycle of samsara, and is described by Zelda as also possessing intense attachments to the world as well, but this time with the Japanese word monin, a term I've explained in detail and its impact on the Zelda series in a previous video. In short, it denotes deluded thoughts or false ideas, often associated with distorted thinking. It signifies the proliferation of misguided or illusory thoughts within the mind. One of the most significant differences between the terms is that the word used to describe Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom, Moshu, emphasizes more on deluded attachment or obsession, representing the deeply ingrained tendency of the mind to latch onto perceptions and concepts as reality. It specifically embodies the mental state arising from unmet or denied desires and the relentless, continuous escalation of them. Each denial or obstacle empowers one's Moshu and their unwavering persistence, fueling an unending cycle of yearning. While Moshu on its own isn't sufficient to directly transform someone into a demon in a literal sense, the unchecked and extreme manifestations of obsessions and attachments can lead to a state of mind that parallel the qualities often associated with demonic traits in Japanese culture. When these attachments become all-consuming, they can drive individuals towards harmful, selfish, and destructive acts. This intensity can compel them to go to extreme lengths to fulfill their desires, often at the expense of others, and even of their own well-being. Secret stones are said to amplify their holders' innate capabilities. When Ganondorf acquired his own secret stone, therefore, it unlocked the untapped potential of his Moshu, essentially empowering him to manipulate his attachments as a source of power, granting him the ability to manifest his desires into reality as he perceives them. Though Ganondorf's awakening as the Demon King partly satisfied his craving for supremacy, elevating him to the position of a demonic ruler, his transformation resonates with Buddhist ideology, representing the birth of an overpowering entity that obstructs spiritual practice, embodying the principle of ever-growing obsession in a formidable form. Ganondorf's newfound power materialized in the form of gloom, known as shoki in Japanese. While I've previously explored gloom's intricacies in an earlier video, uncovering its properties and connections within the Japanese context, in short, gloom transcends being merely a corrosive force. It represents a form of demonic pollution that taints the air and water. It can devour life force and even vanquish gods and deities. However, gloom's properties extend far beyond these facets. Ganondorf's shoki, or gloom, empowers him to defy anything that presents itself as an obstacle to his Moshu. His desires and attachments that were channeled into demonic power by the secret stones were so formidable that they defied the very essence of impermanence, seeking a dominance that transcended the natural order. In other words, as a power that rejects the fundamental Buddhist concept of impermanence and the teachings of the interconnectedness and transient nature of existence, Ganondorf's gloom can eliminate anything that poses a threat in defying him of what he desires, even if the obstacle were the blade forged to exorcise demons, the Master Sword itself. These very elements are also starkly represented and vastly expanded upon in the game's final confrontation. In Japanese, Ganondorf explicitly expresses his motive to restore the land to its former state, refusing to accept the current order and desiring a return to what he perceives as its rightful form. His dissatisfaction with the present rulers and his disdain for their peaceful ways stem from his attachment to a past defined by a more spirited and combative kingdom. Contrary to the English translation, suggesting his preference for a worthy adversary, the Japanese dialogue delves deeper into Ganondorf's longing for the past, yearning to revert it to an era he deems as possessing a fighting spirit. Ganondorf utilizes further specific Japanese terms to illustrate his aspirations. His use of the word suberu signifies a desire for absolute control. This concept is further accentuated through the term sadameru, suggesting not only a decision-making role, but also the wish to dominate and dictate, essentially setting the rules for a world he aims to restore. His primary means to achieve his motive and revive the world he desires is to manipulate his power to envelop it in darkness and ultimately force it into a world that's dominated by demons, as he explicitly asserts in Japanese. However, after Link triumphs over the Demon King's release of power in his second form, Ganondorf, displaying unwavering determination, refuses to relent. While in English, he commands that he will rule the land. In Japanese, the concepts of Ganondorf's ever-growing desires found within the Buddhist term Moshu intensify, as he aspires not just to rule the world, but to dominate all of creation, a significant escalation in his insatiable greed and ambition. Ganondorf's transition from seeking dominion over the land to now craving to control all of creation reinforces the depth of his Moshu, which is why this particular progression in his desires feels purposeful and deliberate in the Japanese narrative. I mentioned earlier that one's Moshu can become so immense that it can drive individuals to extreme lengths to fulfill their desires, often at the expense of others and their own well-being. This is exactly the fate that befalls the Demon King. In a desperate bid for dominance, Ganondorf, faced with defeat in his battle against Link, succumbs to the overwhelming grip of his attachments. It's at this very moment when Ganondorf's Moshu consumes him entirely. Fearing loss and driven by an unquenchable thirst for supremacy, he resorts to a drastic measure. Sacrificing his own sense of self, his mind and body, Ganondorf devours his secret stone, unleashing an irreversible transformation. This act, born from an all-consuming desire to prevail, culminates in his self-destruction and descent into a demon dragon. Reverence for dragons as supreme kami, or almighty gods of nature, is deeply ingrained in Japanese culture. Thus, Ganondorf, in his draconic form, harnesses an unparalleled pinnacle of power, assuming an ultimate state akin to the divine that poses a dire threat to the world's existence. The subsequent battle involving the demon and light dragon, which are referred to as the black and white dragon in Japanese respectively, corresponds to many of the archetypes of the black and white dragons in Japanese culture. These designations hold profound symbolism entrenched in both Japanese and Chinese mythology, folklore, and spiritual ideologies, some elements of which are resonant within Tears of the Kingdom's narrative. In Japanese dragon mythology, various colors symbolize the 5 elements of nature constituting creation. These hues include blue, red, yellow, white, and black. While in Breath of the Wild, 3 of these colors were embodied by the 3 dragons who roam across the world, the beginning of Tears of the Kingdom expanded this number to 4 with the revelation of the white dragon. Thus, Ganondorf's transformation into the black dragon at the end of the game culminated in the manifestation of the 5th and final elemental representation, encapsulating the entirety of these elemental embodiments within Japanese cultural depictions of creation. Delving into some of the specifics of the White Dragon's associations further enriches this elemental narrative. Aligned with the realms of autumn and gold, the White Dragon's symbolic connection mirrors the vibrant color palette dominating the ancient Sky Islands. The White Dragon traditionally represents the Emperor's messenger and embodies traits such as purity and nobility, and is said to govern wisdom, characteristics associated with Zelda. The White Dragon is renowned for its unrivaled speed among dragons. It is the fastest of them all, which it demonstrates in Tears of the Kingdom's conclusive battle. On the other hand, the Black Dragon, epitomizing characteristics of sternness and formidable strength, isn't always inherently depicted as evil. However, its association with black and darkness often positions it in opposition to other dragons, particularly the White Dragon, leading to its portrayal as a malevolent force responsible for calamities, referred to as Tenpenchi in Japanese culture, which just so happens to also be the same word used in Japanese to describe the upheaval in Tears of the Kingdom, the name of the cataclysmic event that occurs across the world after the Demon King beings reawakening. Within the natural elements of creation, the black dragon traditionally reigns over water. In the context of Tears of the Kingdom, the Japanese term for gloom, shoki, represents impurities stemming from polluted air and water in Japanese culture. Should Link stand on the black dragon, he will be attacked by shoki, which suggests a direct correlation, an implication that the dragon's very core embodies this impurity. Hence, this association underlines the notion that the black dragon symbolizes an evil deity governing pollution. In my previous video analysis of the Japanese word for gloom, I proposed its unique ability to sever connections between Japanese gods and the earthly realms. The Hyrule Compendium explicitly highlights that Ganondorf's transformation into the Black Dragon shook the heavens, emphasizing the scale of the threat posed by its emergence. Earlier, I mentioned how just before the Demon King transforms into the Black Dragon, he declares in Japanese his intent to reign over creation. Interestingly, the Japanese term he uses for creation here, Bambutsu, is the very same term that can be employed for the 5 elements of creation in Japanese mythology called Bambutsu Itsutsu no Yoso. In essence, Ganondorf's desperate consumption of the Secret Stone enabled him to embody an ultimate power that defiles the fundamental Buddhist principle of impermanence. As the Black Dragon, Ganondorf imperils the very fabric of creation and jeopardizes the cycle of change and evolution, threatening to regress existence to the original state of chaos. His draconification symbolizes the manifestation of impurity that threatens the divine hierarchy and taints the purity of water and the other interconnected elements of nature with existence, becoming an omnipotent force of pollution.